And unless I choose to follow her, I'm going to have a hard time holding on. So a lot of self-defense schools, you can grab the beads or whatever, will teach direct against, lift out against the thumb. Here, this might be a little, they'll do pull against the thumb. It's good to know. The example would be, which would you rather fight, 4 people or 1 person? If you go against the, go ahead and hold. If I pull out, you see how I'm actually pulling into your grip and your strength?
Yeah.
So I'm pulling against the fingers.
Yeah, but if you do that,
But here,
it's really hard to.
it's hard to hold. But there's still that idea of against, and I'm still burning energy, as opposed to here, when I can just step in here. And you see how I went a different direction this time? You could still hit me, but where do you get all your power?
Oh, from.
Hips and movement,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And see, I'm right there. So you can move in on someone. There's an elbow, potential. There's a groin.
But that also leaves you open there.
What did you just do that? What do you have to? But what do you have to do?
I have to let go of this hand.
Right.
To do that, unless I want to.
Yeah.
But then you've got the.
Because I've got a tether. I know what you're doing. This is
Yeah.
like a lifeline that tells me what's going on.
Yeah, but you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So.
It takes time.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about again. These things take time to learn. So from here, now you can move one direction, or you can move almost any. You can move down too. I mean, she could literally
Yeah, I think.
bend down on one. Come in, bend down on one knee.
Yeah, see, my instinct here though would be, using what you said up there.
Right.
Try to pull away, and then, but then
And now, this is what we were talking about with that separation. You have these 2 forces, these 2 general ways that we can move. We can move away, we can move towards, we can separate, we can unify. And you see how instinct, as soon as something comes, there we go. As soon as something comes in that shocks us or isn't what we expect, a lot of times our instinct is
just get away.
separate.
Yeah.
But go ahead and go back to your movement. Do that again. Or wait.
Oh, yeah,
On the attacker, you go in, boom, freeze. Look at your angle.
Yeah.
All back here. I don't need to do much. And if I really wanted to come in with a punch, if I'm really an attacker, this is gonna get me angrier. Go ahead and break.
So.
Because I just look like an idiot in front of my drunken buddies. That pull from life.
Or you're drunk and you get.
Yeah, or I'm just stupid. Whereas here, if I grab and you zone out this way, you actually, even if you come in that, well, that's not so, you want to face. And that's something we didn't talk about. Once again, see how there's that instinct of getting away energetically? Doesn't even have to be with body motion. It's this energy of, I'm away from you, I'm not looking, I'm kind of sticking my head in the sand, even though you can hit me here. This is much harder. It's like, well, wait, he's got my wrist, but look at all the options that she has now. Oh, not even a fist. So much better. Here.
Is it?
Yeah, here. Like, relax. There. See the control?
Oh, yeah.
Because if we're in a dark area, and this is obviously only for like lethal force or whatever here, but then you can just, it's like you're scooping ice cream. But, I know, yeah. You gotta have some humor to break it up a little. But what's the advantage of that? Any ideas?
Well, surprise is one thing, because somebody's not expecting you to do that.
That could be, but there's another one. What if it's dark? Close your eyes. We're going to keep the thumbs out for this though. You see how if you go here, automatic locate, it's an automatic locator.
Okay.
So if it's a little dark out, if it's...
So you can't use your eyes, so you have to use touch.
Yeah, or they're not as good. Some people don't see as well in the dark.
Yeah.
Or even if it's really, really bright and you've got, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the sun is beating right. If I'm a smart attacker, guess where the sun's going to be?
Yeah.
Speaking of something like Sun Tzu, Art of War, it's going to be right behind me, or Musashi. I'm ready to fight you now. I got the sun right behind me, slice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, you don't need to see. You just need to just go, boop, right in. Yeah. So you see how these physical concepts. This is like our learning, this is our playground. And then you take it up to a mental level or a spiritual level. And there's this idea of analogy. So things move in similar ways, or we understand things in similar ways along different planes or different areas of experience. That's...
So is this purely focused on a self-defense situation, or
Mhm.
do you find that having done self-defense, it helps you in other parts of your life?
Well, I think, what do you consider self-defense? I mean, a lot of people will look at self-defense on a very physical level, where it's somebody grabs you here. I mean, I ended up talking about things like dating concepts, going out, things like that, because they're part of self-defense. Now, if you expand concept of self again, then you start pulling from other areas. My thing with a traditional self-defense class is that, thank goodness, most people will never use it. They'll spend a semester and they'll go to class and they'll learn all these things. My goal was, until I was able to get this more articulated, which I'm finally doing, was always to get them to do something that they didn't know how to do before, something they didn't believe they could do. And I'd state that explicitly. You don't believe you can get out of this hole. You don't believe you can deal with this situation. This is the class to play in. By the end of the semester, I want everybody in here to have done something that they truly didn't think they were able to do. And then take that knowledge, that experience, pop it over to your life, to real world.
Now, do your students feel by the end of the course that they're starting to lose that self-other boundary at all, or does that take years and years?
No, they've lost it. We used to train the wrestling room at Penn State, so the wrestlers would come in, and there were a couple classes that by end semester, the wrestlers were like, I don't want anything to do with you women, they just look like monsters. And I mean, and not physically, like, they were just like, okay, and ready to package someone up. And because you get used to it. Csikszentmihalyi talks about this in his book on flow, where we look at rock climbers and it's really dangerous. And he says, well, we don't realize they've put so much time, so much training into these activities that it's probably safer for them to climb than it is for them to walk across a busy city street, because they have that knowledge base, they have that ability. And really, a class like this is about learning that you have the ability to learn.
So you can't get away from practice and drill?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, that, you can intellectualize all you want, but we're in this world. How do you interface with it? And we tend to be like, okay, I'm going to just chop this up into the symbol for the intellect, like logical thought process or analytical thought process is a lot of times a sword. It's a cutting action or separation. And we think that we can separate everything out. But just like the rose, we do that to something, we do that to all aspects of life, and we end up with like shredded rose on the floor. There's nothing to appreciate anymore. So it's not that it's a bad tool, it's what's guiding it. Theseus and the Minotaur. You've got Ariadne, who has this lifeline with Theseus through this golden thread. And then you have the Minotaur. The sword is his intellect. Who gets to use it? Is it the Minotaur that gets, are we letting that sword of the intellect be guided by our emotions? Or are we using something more akin to what they refer to as like a path with heart? In Chinese thought, heart-mind, where the two aren't really separated, but in the West they are. So